Good day, good people. Welcome to another purpose-filled episode of Lessons for the Journey. The purpose of this podcast is to share insights, information on women's wellness, understanding our whys, and lessons that inspire us to take positive action in ourselves, our families, and our communities. Our topics focus on women's wellness, seeing through a metaphysical lens, sharing spiritual insights, and highlighting our lessons for the journey and building healthy relationships. I am your host, Dr. Hetheru, and I share this space with engaging co-hosts, inspiring topics every Friday at noon, a transformational 1-hour experience on Podcasting Live on Facebook and YouTube. You can expect deep, thought-provoking conversations on self-discovery and personal growth, special guests, which we have today, locations, events, polls, and thoughts. Our co-hosts share wisdom and life-changing insights and experiences, a powerful blend of spiritual, metaphysical, and wellness lessons, tools and strategies to help you elevate your mind, your body, and your spirit. And so I'm going to remind you that for this podcast, you are going to need your journal. You're going to need an ink pen because there are going to be insights that are going to help, like the hair standing on my arms. You're going to need these to help you navigate your journey. And so we are together for a purpose, and I want you to make sure that you capture that information today. This show is produced by Chantel Mosley of Podcasting Studios. Our co-hosts and special guests include Jada Rains, Ma'at Sabah, who is our co-host today, Mary Bayou, Nicole S. Miller, and our special appearances by Dr. Calvin T. Mann. Our message to you is that if you are seeking clarity, healing, personal empowerment, this podcast is for you. Tune in, engage, and transform because your journey of self-discovery starts now. So we need you to really tune in because today we're going to blow your mind. So get inspired. So we're going to jump right into our topic and introduce our feature for today, Mama Evelyn Bingham. And so she is going to open us up with one of her amazing poems. She is a writer and a poet, and she is sharing her day with us so that we can be enlightened by our topic, which is a woman's seasons, the age of wisdom. And so, I like to use the metaphysical lens. So that means that we're looking deeper. We're looking deeper beneath the surface. And so that's the conversation that we're going to have. You're going to have opportunities to call in during the course of this show and maybe ask Mama Evelyn some questions or just tune in to some of the things that we're going to be chatting about today. And so remember, this is about the seasons of a woman and how our wisdom increases and matures over time. And so I'm so excited to have you here. My aunt is here with us, of course. I like to put her on the spot first, but we're gonna.
Oh wait, you said you were gonna do her first.
No, we are.
Okay.
We are starting with Mama Evelyn. She's going to open us up with a poem, but of course, I was just giving you a forewarning that, we're going to reflections when she shares with us. So, all right, Mama Evelyn, you want to say hi to our audience?
Hi.
You're looking right here.
Okay. You're good. So, which poem are you starting us off with today?
The poem that I'm going to do first is called I Am.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
I am your lying down and your getting up, your sense of smell, your eyes to see. I give you the breath of life and the ability to stand. All of the things that make you who you are were placed within you by me. You are as perfect as I meant for you to be, for your assignment on earth to be complete. So don't mentally downplay or diminish your importance or worth. For you are perfectly planned by me from your head down to your feet. So be assured and confident of whose and why you are. Don't question your talents, for they are yours alone. Don't question or second guess my decisions or actions, for remember, they brought you here and they will also take you home.
All right.
Wow.
That part.
Okay. I'm on fire. The hair's getting on my arms. The introduction got me. Now the poem. That is awesome.
She literally's got goosebumps on her arms. Yeah.
I'm charged. Yes. That's amazing. That's amazing. So I'll ask you first. Mm-hmm. Clearly, I see what inspires that. How are you able to capture that message?
It captures me. I don't capture it. Mm-hmm. So I just, whatever comes through me comes out. Mm-hmm. Whether it be written, whether it be spoken, definitely always thought. Mm-hmm. So that's about the only way I know to answer.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My aunt, give us some reflections. How did that impact you?
Well, her poetry is always deep, and you have to sit with it. I think it helps me, I think, get into more of a space of gratitude for everything that you have. We take for granted just life, being able to breathe, and every day that we have, and the ability to do anything.
Right.
And so it's just, to me, it's just a reminder of just being grateful for every day. Every day is a gift. From the first breath you take until your last one.
Yes. It struck me. It struck me so rich in my soul. I couldn't help but feel that the energy of it. It just set me off. It made me feel important and valued. It made me feel validated, and just to have the words, because and although Mama Evelyn, those words came through you, I feel like they were for me. And so I'm so glad that you have surrendered yourself as a vessel, but not only that, but you are allowing other people to share these words, because there I go again. Because it's so super important for people to understand how valuable they are. Mm-hmm. And in the time that we're in, so much can take you away from that and take you away from who you were meant to be. And if we don't have those reminders during the course of this journey, the course of a day, you can get easily lost, easily feel isolated, easily feel or lose your sense of self. And I'm not talking about the self that, people put on Facebook. I'm talking about the self that was born into the world to make a difference, born into the world to take this journey. And so I'm in awe, but I am so grateful for you to share that with us today. Wow. Okay. So this conversation, I want us to look at the age of wisdom. So we're still talking about a woman's seasons. And so when you look at in more of a physical, spiritual, metaphysical lens about women, there are 3 different aspects of a woman when we talk about seasons. So the first season of a woman's life is the season of the virgin. And I'm not talking about sexual experiences. The first season is the virgin. The second season is the maiden. And the third season of a woman is the crone. And so while I talked about it being the age of wisdom, it is in that third season of a woman as a crone. One of the amazing things that she brings is wisdom, because she has wisdom from all of her seasons. And when we get to a certain age and we are in the crone season of our journey, it's so much more that you have to share. And I can't wait to have this discussion, but I just wanted to bring that to light. So as we're having the conversation, as we're taking in the lessons from Mama Evelyn's journey through her poetry, I really want us to, I want you to identify what season you're in. Okay, and so we're gonna talk through some of the ways to understand that and recognize that. So I'm gonna give that to you first. So the virgin season is called the sacred self. And again, this is not about whether you have had a sexual experience or encounter or not, but this is about the wholeness within. It's the woman to herself. She represents innocence, purity of purpose, and sovereignty. She walks in truth, often guided by dreams, feelings, spiritual nudges, In this phase, vision is seeded. The soul's mission begins to unfold, and her challenge is to remain anchored in her divine identity, not the world's label. Okay, so I just wanted to start there, and we're going to move through this. And I see we have a call, and so I'm going to ask Mama Evelyn if you will be open to preparing your next poem, and we're taking in our first caller. Hi, caller. You with us? Are you there? Okay. Okay. Well, if you get a chance, call back. So I want to ask Mama Evelyn if she will share another poem with us.
Yes.
Okay.
The next poem is called Maintain the Mystery. He meets she for all to see. To make it last, maintain the mystery. You can start to read an interesting bestseller book. You can peek and browse, but still you can't see. You must read it through, or it will remain a mystery. Dress to the thigh or dress to the knee. Cover it, girls. Maintain the mystery. Want the newfound love to last? Always insist on RESPCT. Respect yourself and keep your dignity. To make it a point, and make it a point to maintain the mystery. Why come to dinner if you've already been fed? Why put in view what you don't want others to see? You can gossip, talk, and remove all doubt and wonder, or smile in silence and remain the mystery. Maintain the mystery. Remember, forgiveness and love can erase the past. Confess if you must, for honesty. Relationships don't grow if you're too common or familiar. Keep love fresh and new and maintain the mystery. Girls, enroll your beau in your school of life, for if proper steps and classes aren't taken, he can't matriculate. Make him seek to graduate. Maintain the mystery.
Right.
Wow.
Snap on that one.
Okay. My aunt, what's your thoughts?
You know, when you're younger, you can't relate to that, that well. As you start to get older and you start to mature and you start to get into relationships on different levels, you begin to see the value in those words. Initially, it's all about a physical attraction. But at the end of the day, it's the car might look great, but it needs to be something up underneath the hood. So, but again, that comes with wisdom and time and life. But something I think that's important is, and when you get older, that's when it really sinks in, is take the advice of your elders. Take the advice of people who can give you wise words and guidance. If you trust those people, follow what they say. If they say that person's not right, I promise you they're not right. So, that's powerful.
Yeah,
very well said.
Mama Evelyn, tell us what inspired that poem.
I can't think of anything specific. It's probably just the way that I think or thought when I did it. And well, let's see. I'm trying to see what year this was. This was done in 2009.
Okay.
So, or 2007. I'm sorry.
So, you mentioned if you want lasting relationships, and so I know in your journey, your relationship lasted how many years?
67.
67 years with the same person.
With the same person. Never anything in before or in between.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you think that it was part of the strength of your relationship?
I think that it was, because it was a journey, but we were both taking the journey. We started at the same time. We continued. There was no detours or anything like that. So, I think it's definitely a shared journey.
Wow. It sounds like I think about the term mystery and the different ways that you uplifted that in a woman's journey, and how she sees or thinks about herself. That and speaking to some of our sisters, whether they're younger or older, in this season, it seems like the more you show, the more you go. Mm-hmm. But when you hear the very, maybe the men who are trying to get their attention, as much as they like to look, much like you said in that poem, what they value is not what's always in front of you or sitting on your table. It is what you prize, where you are reserved, what you preserve. Like, you don't have to have everything like in the window for display. Yeah. And I hear a lot of men talk about that. And while it's nice to look in the window to window shop, what I'm going to buy is going to be in the store and it's still in the box. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so how you highlighted that, how you highlighted how to bring forth your value, that you know that you have value, how do you bring that forth? And in a way that places you in a space of value, not if you can get something for cheap or for free, it doesn't mean it doesn't have value, but it doesn't also express the level of value that it could have. When it's something that is more that has a sense of value. I don't mean like expensive, like you have to buy it. I'm saying that when you hold value to it, whatever that is, whether that's your ideas or your dreams or your family, the thing that you show and have as value and prize is a thing that has a greater importance. So I appreciate that too. I'm all charged up now. I'm gonna have to French braid the hair on my arms.
She's goofy.
I'm just fully charged. I'm just fully charged. So if you are out there, and let me see if I wrote the number down again. I don't think I wrote the call-in number.
She put it on.
Oh, you did? Oh, see, this is what you have a producer for to help you get here. Okay, so it's 810-560-0658. So if you want to call in and share some reflections about the journey, share some reflections with Mama Evelyn about the poetry, and if you are as charged up as I am and you need to just say something, that's okay too. So I want to go to the second season of A Woman is the Maiden, and this the title that is given for her is The Creative Flame. It says she's a symbol of passion, power, and purpose in action. She's the initiator, building careers, birthing children or ideas, engaging in relationships. Her energy is potent, often fiery, sensuous, and sometimes chaotic. She explores self-expression, pleasure, and the sacred dance of giving and receiving. Her challenge is to avoid burnout by staying spiritually aligned, not just emotionally driven. That is an aspect of the maiden and the second stage of the woman. And I look at this as, by the time you've made decisions about being married and having children and taking a career pathway, that you move from that innocence that you had as a state of the virgin, and now you're moving into one who is, making tough decisions, and she is having to navigate multiple things at one time and make the best decisions, because at this stage her decisions really are going to affect other people. Mm-hmm. and how they live their life, how they move through life. Her influence in not just her family but her community, her sisterhoods is a greater influence here too. And I think I'm gonna ask Chantel. Chantel, so which stage do you think you are? Are you the virgin or are you the maiden? Or are you a little bit of both?
I think I'm a little. I think I'm a little bit of both. I would say a little bit of both, just for the simple fact of with the version I am still learning myself, getting out of that scared mindset, holding myself back, wanting to really flourish and go forth. And in my creative stage, I'm starting to be able to do that. So taking the things that I were nervous or scared about, perfecting the craft, doing it more and more. And so I think I'm in a mixture of both.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll be getting out of the virgin stage soon and then just, slowly in the maiden. So
Okay.
that's where I think I'm at.
Right. My aunt, what season are you?
I think I have transitioned over to the crone.
Yes, indeed.
To the crone stage.
Yes, indeed. What were you like in the maiden stage?
Work, children, just starting to get my foundation and spiritually, creatively. That's when I think my business ideas and products and all of that started to come in that stage. Getting the children to the point where they're all self-sufficient and working and that type of thing. So, and then at that point in time, then you get to the point where you just start to discover who you are as that person. So as the virgin, you're one person, but then when you get to be in the maiden stage, you've never been there before. And so trying to discover who that person is.
Right.
And I think when you get to the crone stage, you're a little bit of all of them. There's certain aspects that I think don't leave, but that we should still nurture. That I think when life sets in, and as they say, life starts life, and you might lose some aspects of yourself that you really didn't want to lose, but things and stuff happens. So I think it's important to maintain those aspects of yourself that you loved, appreciated, and respected.
Mama Evelyn, how about you? What's a highlight from your maiden stage? That season for you? I'm sorry. I have ideas when you're talking for some reason. Like things I wanted to ask. Like, so while you're thinking about that, I was thinking you had a family, you had businesses that you were running, you had interests that you had. I know your family is interested in horses and things like that. Some things that are not necessarily you think a typical family might be interested in. You know what I'm saying? In an urban community, right? And so if you can share a little bit about some of the things that may have been different in your journey when you were in that season, when you were raising your children and running businesses and those kinds of things, if you don't mind.
I really can't think of anything specific because we did a lot of different things, but we camped a lot.
Okay.
So which took us into the out of doors, exposed the kids to different things, and we traveled across the country. We maybe at first we were tent campers, and I'm just looking at all these white folks in their motor homes and tent campers and thinking, oh my gosh, could we ever get to a point where we could have a camper or, well, happy to have a tent, because at first we always pulled a U-Haul trailer, and everything that we had, my kitchen was set up in there, everything we needed was in that U-Haul. So that's the way we traveled, but it was exposure to different things and exposing the kids to different things. But mainly just trying to educate them as best as we could with the resources that we had. Right. And you don't have to have a lot of money to do a lot of things. Probably more now than when our kids were growing up. So I don't know if I anywhere near answered your question.
Yes, absolutely. So because we have perceptions and expectations, and sometimes those things aren't weighted in anything that's real. It's just I saw on the Brady Bunch, because it was 7 of us, but we kind of compared ourselves to the Brady Bunch because it was well, at the time it was 3 boys, 3 girls, but just that was a perception, and it wasn't necessarily weighted in anything. We had both of our parents, and my parents felt much the same way. They wanted to expose us. And sometimes as a kid, you don't know that that's what they're doing. You just, either you're going along with it or it's interrupting something as a teenager, that, well, I want to do this. I don't want to go and do this with the family. I want to hang out with my friends, those kinds of things. But as a parent, having a vision for your family, how important that is. And even when you're doing that when they're younger, because you plant those seeds. And I didn't really realize how much the seeds were planted that my parents had in much the same way. Because my older sister would say, you know what? I'm going to go touch the tip of Miami. Or the tip of Florida. Like, she'll come up with something like that. She would pack her kids up in the car and off they go. And it wasn't that she had so much money to do all of those things with. She had a sense of adventure. She got that from my parents. Now, I'm a little bit more practical. I will plan things out. But, and I don't know how much of that I got from my parents, because my parents were like, let's go. And my sister is like that too. So I think about when you said just camping, I can't even imagine going camping. I can't imagine being outside like that, outside of my backyard where it was safe and I knew the bugs that were there. I know that these are ants. They're either black or brown. I know that these are worms. Now, I can't even imagine what it would be like, because each place you would go, I would imagine the ecosystem is different. So you're going to see different animals, different bugs, different, vegetation, all of that stuff. So how did you transition that part of your life or your vision for your family into the businesses?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to begin.
I think the businesses is something that just kind of happened. It wasn't necessarily
You happened
planned.
into a restaurant?
Well, I don't think it was. It wasn't planned per se.
We happened into it though.
Yeah,
Did you?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I knew absolutely nothing about a restaurant. My brother-in-law, I don't know if you remember Mama's Palace, and we had Mama's Country Kitchen.
Right.
It was a sister restaurant. So this was not anything that I had any experience in. When we took the building, there was no stove. There was one pizza oven, which is about this big, and you opened up this heavy thing. I can't tell you how many burns I got on that. But so it was just a one step at a time. I knew that the food had to taste good,
That's helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And my mother was an excellent cook, and she helped us. So we all worked together to kind of put the business together. But I don't know if that answered her question. I'm sure it didn't.
Yes. No. Because again, you have perceptions and you have expectations, and sometimes those things are not weighted. Like it's not weighted for the person, like, oh, I saw so-and-so do it, so I'm going to do it. And so if you don't really think through that process, your perceptions, it's going to give you an experience for sure.
I just knew that everything that left that restaurant had my signature on it. So it had to be perfect for me, to put the idea, the taste of the food, presentation, everything like that. So, but we were learning as we were going.
That's awesome, and I think that's what we do as parents. That's what we do as people.
Yeah.
But you do want the wisdom, like you mentioned a couple things. You mentioned your mom, that she was there to help, and that you guys did it together. So you have more resources because it was more hands on deck. It was more minds coming together. So that's awesome too. Yeah. Yes, I appreciate the journey, because that was not, entrepreneurship was not something that was in my household. That was not our experience. It was go to school, go to work, go to school, go to work, raise your family. And that was kind of, so it wasn't a lot of room. It wasn't that it wasn't supported or encouraged. It was just that was the system that my family followed. So I'm more entrepreneurial in my adult this Crohn season, and I'll have lots of support with that, but it was still not the path. Everybody else is pretty much straight line in my family. Nobody veered off into entrepreneurship, not really, not in a real way. So knowing that that's possible and that you can feed that into your family in a real way, but that you're working together to do it, I think that's a really major lesson in that part of your journey. All right, so let's go with our poem number 3.
2. Have I read? Wait a minute.
Let me see what these.
This is the one that I want to read.
Okay. Did that one.
I think I was just laying those over there.
Okay.
The one that I'd like to do is called abuse.
Mm-hmm.
There's a pain that comes from a wound so deep, perpetrated by ignorance and misuse. The resulting wounds cannot be seen, but they are the aftermaths of abuse. Mm-hmm. Abuse takes many forms, you see, be it sexual, physical, or mental theft. For when dignity and emotional health has been stolen, there isn't too much left. Abuse is universal and is forced equally, be the recipient promiscuous or innocent, they are not at fault. It is the chauvinistic, self-proclaimed misuse of power by the abuser to which we must put a halt. Abusers may be control freaks, bullies, and cowards, evil or perverse. They may exude respectability with charming manner and pleasant face, but what they forcibly steal from their victims too often can never be replaced. Abused people endure a lifetime of pain for unearned indignities against their will. But the secret to healing is in forgiving, and this takes a special skill. Apply the balm of love liberally to your wounded life. Though being human you can't forget, just know and believe you were not at fault, and ask God to grace you with a loving mindset. Why would a person harm another person or animal? What would make them want to abuse? Could it be that they too were victimized, and as a result they learned to misuse? All abusers had best remember, when they inflict pain on others in this cruel way, that in due time what goes around will come around, and there will be a karmic debt to pay.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
That was abuse. Abuse.
My aunt? Wow.
So, I think the most important thing is forgiveness. And you don't forgive people for them. You forgive them for yourself. That's the only way to move forward. As long as you're holding on to the anger and the resentment, guilt, fear, you empower that situation. It is to the best interest of the person that has been abused to seek, however it is that they can do it, seek a way to find forgiveness for the situation, for the other person, and again for themselves. I've had an experience, and it almost broke me. And holding on to the anger and hatred for years, I think I mentioned to you, it didn't sink into me of how it was debilitating my life until I saw a license, one of my driver's license. And when I saw that picture, that spoke volumes. And that was my wake-up call. And I said, I'm not doing this. I can't do this anymore. And so I went on a forgiveness journey, and I keep that license as a reminder of what it looks like to hold on to things and not be willing to let go. And then once I released that, it seems kind of like life took off in a different way. Mm-hmm. So that is the most loving thing that you can do for yourself.
For yourself.
Mm-hmm. For yourself, not the other person. It's for you. They got to go to whatever God it is they serve to get forgiveness for whatever they did. It is strictly for you. So it could be a hard walk depending on how egregious the situation was, but it can be done.
It can be done. I thank you for that. I had the honor of working with some formerly incarcerated individuals, from sex offenders to people who had taken the life of someone else, and having real conversations around what happened and the misunderstandings and the opportunities to want to seek forgiveness from them. Some had more difficulty forgiving themselves than they did, asking for forgiveness. But what I valued about being in that position was that it wasn't because I felt so different from them, because I have my own set of things that I needed to apologize for. And it didn't end me in the same journey that it ended them. And so it was no judgment on my part, because I got enough to judge on my own. And I have a whole list of things that in my journey I have been working on for myself to forgive. Forgiving myself, and then where it is possible or appropriate to ask for that forgiveness from someone else too. And I believe that is what keeps me centered. It keeps me as far away from judgment as I can be. But I have moments that I have relived in my head about choices or decisions that I could have easily went this way or that way. And either way, going through the thought process about it helped me to keep myself humble, because I'm this far away from making a choice that could change my life forever or the life of somebody else. And so it makes me more aware, but it makes me feel more responsible and more accountable for the decisions and the choices that I make every day. And so I think it's important that we, in this journey of forgiveness, even in situations of abuse, we can do that same level of abuse to ourselves. And so we have to be mindful that we are sometimes the abusers of ourselves when we don't take care of our health, when we don't take the time for self-care. That's abuse to yourself too. And so we have to make sure that we are aligning with our best self as much as possible. And then when those reminders, insights, or breadcrumbs are placed before us, that we make sure that we are listening and paying attention. And I think that's what we do for one another too. When we share our testimony, when we share our journey, when we listen to your words, Mama Evelyn, it's a reminder that you could be on either side of that. You could be on either side at any given time by any different decision or choice that you make in a day. And so where that may not be your intention, it could still happen. And so we have to make sure that we are forgiving others, and we're forgiving ourselves. So I think that's important. Thank you for sharing that. Go ahead.
To that too, because I have a prison ministry, so I've seen that as well. Most of the men, about 90% of them, are lifers. And when I first started my sessions with them, about 20-something years ago, one of the first things they asked me, coming from the outside in society to them, they said, are we redeemable? And that broke my heart when he said that. And the look on all of their faces was, like, are we any good? Are we just throwaways? It's like it was almost a childlike energy from them. And in all of these years, I've gotten to know, a number of them. And I hear the stories of how they got where they are. And I think it's important, as you said, to not only forgive, but to not judge people. And some of the incidences that the guys have shared, there were murders that were done to protect a family member.
A lot of that. It's a lot of that in our community. And
so did they do the crime? They did. But what they did it for, the family member, the person they killed, they probably feeling some kind of way about it. And I guess I would too if someone took my family member. But if we maybe start to get into a space of being more forgiving, more understanding. And some people, you hear stories about family members that went to the prison to meet with the person that murdered their family member, and have either taken them in, took them in as a family person, if you will, loved on them, and they just healed the situation. They both were healed, the offender and the people that family member were taken. So forgiveness is a powerful thing, but you have to have a certain amount of love within you to be able to do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, but again, we're all people, and people go through things. Not excusing crimes, but try not to judge any situation until you get more information.
Absolutely. All right. So this is the 3rd season of The Woman, The Crone. It's called The Sacred Elder. She represents wisdom, power, and completion. I'm charged up. She embodies the full circle of life, having experienced love, loss, labor, and liberation. The crone is not old and bitter. She is ripe. Hear that, Ma? Ripe.
Seasoned, baby.
Radiant and rooted in spiritual clarity. She is the oracle, healer, and legacy keeper. Her challenge is to share without shrinking and to mentor without controlling. I mean, that embodies wisdom to me, the wisdom of the elder. So when we talk about the season of wisdom and the age of wisdom, I think when a person gets to that level, that and what they share, it really has value. And I think we miss the opportunity so often with our elders to gain some of that clarity. I love to avoid pitfalls. I love to avoid potholes. And if I know that somebody has wisdom, wise counsel for me to help me avoid those potholes, that's where I'm going.
Absolutely.
When I'm making really major decisions, I always go to my ancestors. I go to the elders in my circle, again, those who I trust, who I respect, and I start asking questions. I'll share, this is what I have to do. Have you had this experience? What did you do? Or what advice do you have? But that's one of my favorite. What advice do you have? Can you give me some insight into whatever I'm facing? And most of the time, even if they didn't have that experience, they have enough wisdom to guide you and give you breadcrumbs, insights, some sort of guidance to help you make the decision. They never make the decision for you. And that's one thing I have come to know about the people I seek wise counsel. They never make the decision for you. I have one particular person that is in my wise counsel who always makes me think through what happened next and what does this mean to you and how do you feel about that. You have that experience, my aunt.
Are you talking about moi?
Right. This is my wise counsel. Right. To help a person who helps me reflect back. Okay, so, but I think that's a really important part of having someone, a woman that is in this season of her journey in your life. I think that's one of the reasons why it's so super important. So we are going to have another poem from Mama Evelyn.
Yes, this one is called Ain't I a Woman Too?
Okay.
I was born and raised in a faraway land across the oceans and forcibly brought here hundreds of years ago. I suffered and slaved for your freedoms. Your history books testify that this is so. Our ancestral women were strong and sturdy. Our ancestral women were a strong and sturdy breed. They were never able to frivolously relish or delight in their womanhood, for the land was too harsh and the people too cruel. When our men were brutalized, sold, or killed, we stood. Rarely was she able to comb or groom her hair, and unlike her missus, no fine soaps or lotions for her skin. Still, she was attractive enough for her captors and owners to lay hold of her. And although she fought in self-defense, Still, she did not win. Somehow she maintained her dignity. For though the captors brutalized and degraded her, they did not win. Her feminine barometer within the ravished body soothed her with the knowledge that this act was his sin. We grew steadily strong in body, purpose, and vision. For deep down by intuition, our foremothers knew that unless she developed strong shoulders of steel, she could not shield her future generations of daughters from having this done to them too. These generations' past trials and tribulations brings womanhood to where we are today. And if our ancestors could look down and see us, I'd be afraid for what they would say. Far too many of us are wallowing in self-degradation, babies raising babies and our children not being taught, forgetting or never having been taught the sacred honor and trust of motherhood. We have allowed false ego and empty vanity to rob us of parenting our children as we ought. So it's not about your figure, false pride, your ignorant or empty intent. It's not your makeup, fashionable clothes, or your fancy hairdo. But it should be in fulfilling the legacy of real women, our foremothers, who never experienced the primping and preening of today's women, but who stood proud and straight and exclaimed to all, "Ain't I a woman too?"
Ooh. Wow.
Man, look, you should be able to sit your
right?
mobile phone right on me, and I'm going to charge you right up.
Wow.
Wow. Wow, that's deep. Deep stripes. Deep stripes. When was that written?
When?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. In 2011.
2011. You know, that makes me think about the upcoming Juneteenth celebrations that are happening, and how important it is when we think about the history. We think about the her story too. Mm-hmm. And often we think about a lot of our male figures, and not to take away from anyone that has, been a part of this journey and made us better from it. But recognizing that so much has been evolving since that time. And the strength of who you really are. And when I see the broken chains, I don't think of the broken chains. When you see the images that's represented during this time, I see a lot of broken chains, but what I see, instead of them being broken, I see them as the links for generations. And they're coming back together versus being broken. Mm-hmm. And I think the more that we uplift our history, we uplift this journey of strength and endurance. The picture may not be a pretty picture, but it doesn't take away from what that picture represents. Mm-hmm. And so as you were sharing that was what I was remembering all of the people, remembering all of the ancestors, remembering all of the work that has been done, and how many accomplishments and achievements that are innumerable that we have in our culture and our community. Mm-hmm. Even today, that those things still echo in our children. They still echo in their curiosity and their ability to dance at 2. It might, we may not see that as an achievement. We just say that, oh, that's cute. Look at them doing the dances that are out today. That's a gift. And a lot of what we're seeing is so tribal and so ancestral. The tattoos, the piercings, the ways that people are dancing, and all of that is our ancestors coming back. And because we have a perverse vision, often we see it in a way that's over-sexualized. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it is over-sexualized. But what it is the call back home. It's the call to who you are. And we can miss that when we're looking at it through the lens of the world. It's still a part of who we are. We have always been able to express ourselves through dance and movement, even if the lens is perverse of what that looks like. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I think about all of that when you were sharing that, just the images of what that looks like, and how our perceptions can often misplace the grace and the gratitude that we have as a people.
Right.
So I thank you. I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I jump over my. I know we have a few minutes left. Go ahead.
One of the things I was thinking about is that as a culture of Black people, we come from family and community. So when you see the degradation and the breakdown of our community nowadays is because that family component is not there anymore. Mm-hmm. The mothers don't want to be at home taking the children. I mean, it's the taking care of their children. It is the greatest gift. It's the greatest pleasure and the greatest pain. But the most important job on the planet is to be a mother. And even if you don't have any children, you're still a mother. You still mother somebody. So, to get back to understanding and embracing womanhood and motherhood for what it really is, and back to the ways of the ancestors and connecting with earth and the herbs and cooking like our grandmothers used to do. They didn't go to the doctor. They went out there and pulled some herbs out of the ground and said, bring me this and bring me that over there. And they made some tea and put different oils on you and everything. And you were healed. So I look forward to the day that we revisit that image of womanhood and motherhood.
Thank you. Absolutely. I just want to close us with the thought of the age that we're in. And so we are in the age of Aquarius, and what that means and what we see happening and taking place in this new space where people's gifts are online, our consciousness is changing, we're awakening. Some people are already awakened, but what that means right now for us and what we need to do, one as women, and what the role that we have as a woman in our community. It is also a time to seek the balance between the masculine and feminine, not just the gender, but the energy between the two. We have to bring those things into balance and into harmony. That's part of what this season is about. It's part of our spiritual awakening, remembering who you are. Remembering meaning put back together who you really are. And so that poem reminds me of that thought too. And I know we're running out of time. So I have lots of information and insights. How do you want to close today when you think about at least the age of Aquarius and how it's drawing up in these, how it's drawing up in people today, how it's opening us up?
Again, as you said, people are waking up, and I'm really seeing this explosion of young people. And I've heard this. I don't know where it came from, that the masters will walk upon the earth again. And I don't know where I heard that from, but I see it. These young people are powerful. They are very spiritually in tune and connected. I see a lot of them going back to being more natural in terms of raising their children, becoming vegan. So they're making all these different transitions, even then the music that they listen to. And so I'm so excited for this next leg of truth that's coming out that will be expressed through our young people.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to ask Mama Evelyn if you will close us with a poem.
Yes. I had a couple of them, but this one is called Outward Beauty. What happens to outward beauty as years progress? What happens to outward beauty? As years progress, it is pushed deeper within, and to seek to find and appreciate the beauty, one must do more than just pretend. When I look into the mirror, there are flaws and wrinkles there, all prices I have had to pay, from youth to old age to prepare. For my age, those my age share similar problems. It is far easier for them to relate, for we know that sometimes outward appearances are the results of what we've had on our plate. Finding someone's inner beauty is a quest of time well spent, for only through deep, intense searching can you learn the depth of a heart's intent. So be less concerned with what others see, for the real beauty of you lies protected inside. And unlike mining and digging for precious jewels, the flaws, the visual imperfections caused you to appreciate the beauty it was designed to hide.
Wow.
My aunt, so tell our listeners how they can find you.
You can reach me at relationshipfirstaid.com, Facebook, Instagram, Relationship First Aid, and the email address is relationshipfirstaid@yahoo.com.
Thank you. And Chantel, if we can close with our fatherhood award brunch coming up. Oh, okay. And then if you can put that flyer up, and then if you can go back to Mama Evelyn's picture, because I understand we have a book that she's being released.
Yeah, well, yes. Hopefully within a couple of months, I will be having a book out. And
With
It's one of
the poetry.
yes.
It's called Love Pure and Simple. I think it's going to be 12 books altogether.
Well, I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it yet.
It's going to be more than one.
That is the intent, though.
Yeah.
That is awesome, and we will eagerly await that book. So we'll be at the book signing.
Okay.
We'll be at the book signing and the book release.
Okay.
Yeah. we are affirming
All
that.
new.
We are affirming that. And you can reach me at yourinspiredjourney.com, and you can reach me by phone at 313-759-7855. Again, that's 313-759-7855. And I want to thank our producer Chantel for not only taking good care of us today, but being a part of the conversation, because your voice is extremely important. And if you can share, before we go, share how people can find you on your podcast.
Yes, you can find me on Facebook, One Step Closer, and also on YouTube at One Step Closer podcast, and then me, Shan Mosley, on Facebook.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you again.
And let's continue to celebrate. We're coming into the season of fathers. Let's continue to celebrate. Join us on Saturday, June the 21st. And as we're celebrating 3 men in our community who are our honorees for 2025, we want you to bring the men, husbands, even sons into this event. Get your ticket and celebrate them. Send us their picture, and you have an opportunity to speak life over them and thank them publicly and personally. This event is an amazing event, and I believe that we do not celebrate our men enough. And the theme of this event is built to last, and these are the men in our community and our families and our lives that deserve that recognition. So come and celebrate with us. Bring him, let him have a good lunch, and these words poured into him uplift his spirit for the rest of 2025. So thank you, everybody, for listening today. And remember, these are our lessons for the journey. Stay clear.